What's up, YouTube? So today's topic, I'm gonna talk about perfection years and how much astrology really does. It is how accurate it is, and it can't predict your future. Or if you know how to read astrology, if you know how to utilize it to the best of your ability. I'm also gonna talk about I'm talking about how I view life and how I approach people who are on some bullshit, like how I approach people who are very narcissistic, people who are abusive, and just dumbass people like that, and how I view life obstacles and situations whenever God is kind of throwing me a lot of dumb situations, right? And I'm also going to talk about how I approach tarot readings and spiritual content that I don't trust. So let's get to it. So, lately I've been researching about profection years. And what perfection, I'm not going to go into detail. You could do your research. But what a perfection year is like 1 through 12. If you're in your first house perfection year, I think that deals with I think in your second house perfection year, that deals with your self-worth, your money, and it's a perfection second house. So that deals like money, your finances, your career, your how you take care of yourself, I guess. And then in your third house perfection year, which I'm in right now, and with these perfection years, they go by your ages. So for example, me, I'm 26. People who are 26, everyone who's 26 years old, they go through their third house perfection year, which is that deals with communication, neighbors, siblings, um what else, I think social media. But yeah, and then for next year, once you're 27, that's gonna deal with your house, your father figure, um, your ancestral shit, where you come from, your roots, your generational family, shit like that. That deals with your fourth house year, pretty much. I don't know too much about it. I'm trying to do some more research about it, but it kind of made me reflect because it's just crazy. So like, just the fact that there's perfection years that deals with your age, that kind of tells you that you kind of don't have free will. You do and you don't. You could use astrology to control your free will, so you can have more free will. But at the same time, astrology is also proof that it can control your free will in some way. Why do I say this? Well, if you have common sense, if you look at astrology, there's the fact that you have certain signs, and certain signs act a certain way. They go through certain traumas and abuse and life's challenges in certain ways and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? For example, Scorpios. For example, if you have a Scorpio moon, if you have a lot of Scorpio placements are known for having people who are very close to them betray the fuck out of them, loved ones who betray them, people who emotionally abuse them and manipulate them, and they deal with a lot of betrayal and a lot of like traumatic shit. Every Scorpio moon I know, not just Scorpio moons, but anyone with Scorpio placements, they have a lot of trust issues. And because they all go through the similar shit, I've been through similar shit with family betrayal, close loved ones betraying me, friends, family, etc. And a lot of traumatic bullshit that I was forcefully had to go through out of my free will. So that is a primary example of astrology controlling your free will. Also, you have Mercury now from a collective scale. No, I almost use another example. So for Pisces placements are known to be kind of like delusional, like very like they're very spiritual. They're very like they hate reality. They don't like to look at reality. Again, I'm not saying every Pisces, but just some. It's stereotypical shit. So I'm not saying I'm right, but that's what I've read. And they're very spiritual. They're very in tune. They're very tapped in. I get along with a lot of Pisces for some reason. It's very cool. But yeah, but I guess people like to say that they tend, or according to the internet, Pisces placements are known to be very quote unquote delusional. They're more spiritual. They're more tapped in and shit like that. Virgos are more like me. I have a Virgo sun, so with Virgos they tend to be like very nitpicky. They're very to be like critical, sometimes hypocritical as fuck. But they're very hardworking. They're very like attention to detail. They like structure, they like organization, and they're very on the edge because they aim to be great. They aim to be. They're kind of like perfectionists, and they're very givers. and like kind of like people pleasers, and they like to share information and shit like that. So now from a collective scale, you have Mercury retrogrades and full moon eclipse and all this crazy shit. And then we have seasons. You have Pisces season, Scorpio season, Taurus seasons, right? So that influences the human body. It influences the human emotions and the human tendencies pretty much. So for example, if you have Mercury retrograde, then that's known for fucking up all the electricity and all of the electronics, and it makes everything slow, especially with the internet. It always lags and malfunctions. Mercury retrogrades are also known for people making compulsive decisions, and that causes people to be very on edge. It causes a lot of fights, a lot of miscommunication. It causes people to be more angry, more agitated, and more annoyed, and it slows down like any type of progress and progressions. You know what I'm saying? But Mercury retrogrades is also full of regret, so people will regret what they're doing, and based on their decision making, based off impulse, because their nervous system is being affected by the Mercury retrograde. But also Mercury retrograde can also play a huge role, because I look back in my life situations, any important life situation or decision I made was around Mercury retrograde. So it doesn't have to be negative. It could also be a good thing. There's a pre-shadow Mercury retrograde and post-shadow Mercury retrograde. Right now we just got out of a Mercury retrograde as this in this today's video, but I'm not sure if we're still in the post retrograde. I think we are, you know what I'm saying, but who knows. So then you have your seasons. You have your Scorpio seasons, and you can have your full moon eclipse. With seasons, it's kind of more like it gives you kind of momentum with your energy. So like there's like a fucking Scorpio season. Scorpios deal with like secrets, hidden enemies, shadow work and shit like that. Me as a Scorpio moon, Mars and rising, I hate Scorpio season so much. There's always some dumb shit always happens, and I always get fucking triggered out of nowhere. It's just, you don't have control of your free will like that. Either a higher power or God, they kind of dictate that shit. Unfortunately, that what fucking sucks about it. So yeah, so every like Scorpio season, that's when I get triggered. That's when I have to do a lot of shadow work and shit like that. I don't know too much about astrology, but if you want to learn more about astrology, watch Moony Mercury Baby. He talks about those. Flight Boss, and there's other. Just type in astrology, YouTubers, spiritual. You know, just type in spiritual astrology, YouTubers pretty much, and you'll find your information there. Now we're gonna talk about full moon eclipse. If it was like a fucking full moon, or if it was like an eclipse, pretty much, if it was like a Scorpio full moon, then people with a lot of Scorpio placements are going to get affected, or wherever your sign is, you're going to get heavily affected. If it's like Taurus full moon or Taurus season, etc., is going to influence a lot of people and how they act and what they do and shit like that. So for example, full moon of Scorpio, that deals with like shadow work, hidden enemies, secrets, coming to light, exposure, and stuff like that. So you're going to be dealing with all that to the surface. That's going to force you to grow, but it's also going to force you to go through a lot of pain just so you can do the shadow work. You know what I'm saying? That goes to every astrological season. Now I'm learning about profection years. So the profection year 1 through 12 has different meanings, and it goes by age. So if you're like age 25, 20, it's in order. So 1 through 12, you go through your 12 profection years. Then 13 through 24, you go through your profection years on repeat, pretty much. Me, I'm 26. I'm turning 27 September 7th. So that's going to deal with my fourth. So I'm going to be in my 4th house perfection year, or third or 4th house perfection year, I think. No, I think it's 4th house perfection year. So I'm probably going to be dealing with a lot of like, I don't know too much about it, but it's funny because based on my career situation in the military, next year in the military, I'm going to fucking go on deployment, or like, not deployment, like, yeah, I'm going on deployment. I'm going on rotation. It's called rotation. I'm going to go to Poland for about a year next year. But before that, I'm going to go through a lot of training, which is in like somewhere in California. I'm going to be in the middle of nowhere. Then I'm going to go on deployment, rotation for a year. So I'm not going to be living on my own. I'm going to be living with, I'm going to be living with other people and shit like that. Me, I'm a very private person. I hate living with people. I'd rather live on my own. I'd rather have my own house, my own stuff. But because I take my privacy very personal. And this is not just me saying this, but it's like obviously everybody, every adult, but especially me with like a lot of Scorpio placements, I just rather be private. I'd rather have my own home, because my home is very sacred to me wherever I live at. and I need privacy, and I take that shit seriously. So I'm gonna be living with a lot of people and around people like that. So it's gonna be, next year is gonna be very kind of overwhelming for me. It's going to be annoying, but I'm used to it, to be honest, because while I was in the army, while I was training, because when I was in basic training, and then after I was done with basic training, I had to go to school for a month for my job, so I could learn my job, and that's been a total of like probably like 6 months, because after I was done with my AIT, which is job training for your, it's MOS training for your job after you're done with basic. Then I went to another training voluntarily, which is called RASP, shit like that. That lasted for like about a month and a half. So total, I've been in training. I've been living with people and around people in small housing areas, and I've been living with roommates for about hang on, 1, 2, I think about 8 months, about 6, maybe 4 to 8 months, maybe around 6, pretty much. So pretty much like half a year, pretty much. So I'm used to it. Did I enjoy it? No, but eventually you'll get used to it and you'll adapt. But there are times where I did get annoyed, where I just want to live my own. You know what I'm saying? I hate living with people. So next year is gonna be very like challenging. So I'm kind of trying to prepare myself mentally for next year and stuff like that. But what's interesting is that it also deals with the fourth house. Fourth house year also deals with, like, I think your family roots. So you get to learn more about your family, about, maybe it deals with the father for some reason. For your fourth house profession year, it mentions your father. So I'm not sure what that's about. So I'm not sure if me and my father are going to communicate a lot more. Me personally, I cut off all my family members. I'm going to talk to them like that. So they could try to communicate with me, but I'm going to block the fuck out of them. Or if they do try to communicate, I'm going to cuss them out. You know, but I'm probably going to learn more about my family roots and why they are, or wherever the fuck they come from. So I can learn, not just on their side, I could give a fuck about them, just so I can learn more about myself and the type of shit I'm dealing with, so I can overcome it. So unfortunately, I have to do more research, because I've been trying to search on YouTube about people talking about their fourth house profection year, but no one really kind of like talks about it. So I'm gonna add a new series to my channel that every year I'm gonna talk about my experience with my third house year, with my fourth house year, my fifth house profection year, and stuff like that. It's gonna be like every year, since every profection year and lasts for a year. So towards the end of the year, each year, I'm gonna reflect and talk about the things I've learned and things I've experienced from each house perfection year. Since no one on YouTube is making videos about that, I'm surprised. People love to make videos about astrology, but they never talk about their perfection housing years, which is weird to me. You know, like, no, like literally, no one talks about their experience with their perfection year. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah. So with this video, I'm gonna talk about my experience with last year. I mean, no, with this year. This year was my communication / neighbors / siblings / social media year. And I think I got more, I got like 4 to 5 more months until my birthday's up. So I'm almost done with that year. But I might as well talk about it, reflect, if I can remember. So this year, my communication year, I've definitely dealt with a lot of like communication. I was more in tune with social media. So during that year, my communication year, I think that was the first year I've even made my YouTube channel, because while I was in my second house perfection year, which deals with like career, money, and finances, while I was 25, I didn't even attempt to make a YouTube channel. But towards the end of that year, I decided to make a YouTube channel. Towards the end of the year, I was heading towards my communication social media year, which was my third house year, right? Which I'm in right now. During that year, is crazy how accurate it is, because that year deals with social media. So I decided to make a YouTube channel and put myself out there. It deals with communication. I make a lot of videos talking about shit, and that deals with communication, with me talking a lot, right? I eventually made a lot of videos of me talking on Twitter. I'm spreading my information on TikTok and stuff like that. And I'm thinking about making a podcast and all this other stuff in the near future. But I made over 700 videos of me just talking for like 30 minutes to an hour with the YouTube. You know what I'm saying? And I enjoy doing it. It's not like I don't feel like doing it. No, I enjoy doing it. So also communication here. Well, yeah, and also tapped into social media, but it also deals with your neighbors or your friends and stuff like that. So I've interacted with a lot of my favorite YouTubers. Either that, yeah, I did interact with them either through like me joining their lives, like talking to them, or like me like texting them and messages them through Twitter or commenting on their page and them interacting with me. So I was definitely interacting with a lot of my favorite YouTubers through online. And I was so engaged with social media and I was learning a lot of things. Oh, also, your third house here also deals with, which I'm in right now, I forgot to mention, it also deals with learning a lot of new things and going to school and and going to courses and stuff like that. During that year, I've learned a lot. During my career in the army, that year I've been to a lot of like schools, learning a lot of things that I never learned before, and like I was in and out of college. I'm currently starting barbering school this next week, and that's gonna last for like a long time. So I'm constantly going to school. I've been going to a lot of courses and stuff like that, and yeah, it did happen. I'm learning a lot of things. Still am currently. It is overwhelming, but I enjoy bettering myself. I enjoy learning new things. I love school. I love learning. I love going to courses like that. So definitely that year definitely helped me did that. What I'm saying? I'm still doing it. So definitely a lot of communication, a lot of like going to school, learning new things, and a lot of communication within my neighbors/friends. And I was interacting with them, and I was sharing their information on my community channels, on my YouTube channel, and I was interacting with them a lot. That year was my first year where I was interacting with my favorite YouTubers a lot. You know what I'm saying? But also deals with community. It also deals with that year. Also deals with community. I've noticed that that same year, I've been around a lot of situations in my work where like I'm around people, or like I'll switch from the job I work at. I'll constantly switch from place to place. So in turn, that made me have to work with a lot of different types of people and making new friends and being known like that. You know what I'm saying? And oh, also with the third house communication year, it also deals with a lot of moving around. So yes, that year was the first year I even had my car. When I was 26, this is my first year out of car. So with that year, I was driving around. I was doing DoorDash and stuff like that. But my first year having a car, so I always travel around, always explore. Even with my job, my career in the army, we'll always travel around and move around a lot. Not far, but just for like training and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm always on the go. So this year I definitely traveled a lot. No, it doesn't deal with traveling. Yes, it does. It deals with traveling. Forgot to mention, but it deals with short distance traveling, and that's a fact because like I said before in this video, I wasn't traveling far. I was only traveling for training, and that's what I was doing. I was doing DoorDash. I was driving around because I didn't need cars, so I was excited to move around. So that deals with like. So it's not me driving from country to country. No, it's me from driving from like area to area, pretty much. So it's crazy how accurate it is. But one of the keys I've learned from that year was the importance of communication, because all of the issues I had, all of the like slip ups and errors and pain and just a lot of like mistakes and a lot of like situations that went bad was because of lack of communication within my part. You know what I'm saying? So it taught me the importance of communication. I thought I was a good communicator, but that communication, third house profection here, it really showed me how much I really need to work on my communication skills. Because if you're working at a job or a career, or if you have your own business, any situation you are in your life, if you don't communicate, if you don't have your team communicate, or if you don't have your people you work with or your team and even yourself on the same page, then that's going to cause misunderstandings. That's going to cause slip ups. That's going to cause mistakes within the workplace. It's going to cause a lot of like bad situations that you don't want to happen. So communication is important. Even if you got to over communicate, even if you think you're being annoying, it's good to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's better to over communicate than to not communicate at all. Then your coworkers are going to have a misunderstanding that's going to cause issues at the workplace. It doesn't have to be personal issues. It could be like errors or work mistakes and slip ups, all due to miscommunication. So you don't want that. That's the thing I've learned. Like looking back, like all of the slip ups and pain and heartache and me getting in trouble. And then, well, not me getting in trouble, but me making a lot of mistakes that couldn't easily been avoided, and doing things incorrectly was due to me not communicating properly. You know what I'm saying? If I were to communicate properly, then yeah, things would have fallen into place successfully. You know? So it's very important. Very important. So that's what I've learned. I've also learned that obviously to set boundaries here and there, that deals with communication as well, because people will take advantage of you. People will because people are dumb as fuck, so people will take advantage of you. People will take your kindness for weakness. People, they're just fucking barbaric like that. You know, yes, grown men are like that. They're just dumb as fuck, and they got a lot of demonic entities influenced by them, so they cause them to make bad decisions. So if you have good communication skills, you can work on your you'll definitely work on your boundaries a lot more. So that's what I've learned. So that's pretty much what I've learned. I definitely did a lot of traveling. The third house communication year, it deals with your communication, siblings, traveling short distance, friendships, neighbors, social media, the internet, learning new things, going to school, courses. I've done all that. Now, when it mentions siblings, now I have contacted my sibling a couple of times. We're not in good terms. I've cut him off many years ago, but the only time I'll actually message him is when I'll cuss him out, or I'll tell him how pissed off I am at him. So I'll block him, unblock him, and I'll cuss him out pretty much. And those were the only times I'll interact with them. So that's pretty much it. I didn't think we'll communicate. So that third house that deals with siblings, that's probably what it stood by, you know, because you know what I'm saying? So yeah. So yeah. Now, I'm gonna talk about the year I've experienced when I was 25. So that deals with your second house year, profection year. So that deals with your career, with your finances, your money. It also deals with perfectionism. Funny, these houses 1 through 12 is called perfection house year, but your second house deals with perfection. So during that year, it kind of forced me to get my shit together, my shit straight. Well, I always have my shit straight, my shit together. But while I was 25, during that year, I think this is my first year being in the army, joining the military. So that year, in my third house year, that year, it forced me to it was my first time experiencing basic training, and that was definitely a challenge. It was very life-changing. It forced me to how to manage my finances here and there, definitely. Definitely taught me how to really be disciplined, because keep in mind I was in basic training, then I was in a lot of training during that year. I was in basic training, then I was finished with that. I was in training for my job. That lasted for a long time, so that requires a lot of discipline. After that, then I volunteered to do some more training for RASP. That also deals with a lot of discipline within the body. It's like pretty much. So, so that dealt with a lot of me training, a lot of tough military training. It forced me to manage my time properly, and it was a lot of studying, a lot of learning, a lot of that year is when I worked out the most. A lot of intense working out. If you're not military, if you don't know what RASP is I forgot what it stood for. It was like a Ranger Assessment Selection Program. So it's when it's pretty much if you want to become a ranger in the army, you have to go through that training, and that. Yeah, so in the first you have pre-RASP, so that deals with you a lot of working out. They pretty much smoke you, they fuck you up pretty much, and they weed out people who don't want to be in there. So it's a lot of physical training, a lot of running, a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of smoke sessions here and there. Then once you complete that, then you move up, called RASP 1. So you do a lot of land nav training, a lot of weapons training, and other stuff where you learn about what they do and stuff like that. You pass that, you pretty much become a ranger. Me, they have this thing called a psych test. So it's when they kind of give like an interview and they ask you questions, and if you get certain questions wrong, then that means you drop. That means you didn't make it. But if you get dropped because you didn't answer the questions correctly, you can still go back in and train voluntarily. But if you quit yourself, if you quit voluntarily, like where everything is too hard, then you're not allowed to back in. Fortunately, me, I didn't quit voluntarily. Instead, I got dropped because I failed the psych test. So that deals with them asking you questions, giving you an interview, stuff like that. Me, unfortunately, I didn't get the questions right, so I was dropped. But I am able to come back in and train with them whenever I want. I think you have to wait like at least like a couple amount of months, and then you could sign up and train again and stuff like that. But yeah, but during those times it was very tough. But during that year, I worked out the most. I've done a lot of running, a lot of lifting. I've been working on my body during that year the most. And a lot of like training, studying, and I was forced to, life kind of forced me to be on point with my body, to be in shape, and to get my shit together pretty much. So that deals with and that year, since my first time being in the army, so I've never gotten paid that much, because back then I used to work in dead-end jobs. I only worked like, the most I could work was like 2 times a week. The only times I worked full time was when during the holidays. But even then, I was getting paid enough. I was getting paid probably like at most $400 to $600 every 2 weeks. Now in the army, is an actual career. It's not a job, it's a career. So I'm getting paid more than I expected it. So it was my first time getting introduced to money and stuff like that. So I was learning about credit. I was learning how to manage my finances. And ironically, that year deals with finances as well. That year deals with like, I forgot. Being a perfectionist, it deals with your career, it deals with your finances and stuff like that. So reflecting back, yeah, that definitely, it was accurate like that. So I'm very excited what's to come once I turn 27. I'm gonna do more research, but hopefully it's not some bullshit, because I read some reviews on people's experiences with their 4th house here, and they said how painful it was, how challenging it was. Some people say they've lost their homes, they've lost their house, or like they constantly have to move into areas they don't want to be in and stuff like that. So, and ironically, next year is when I go on rotation. I get to live with people and stuff like that, and I get to learn about my family roots. So I feel like next year is definitely going to be challenging. It's definitely going to be very triggering, because I'm trying to break generational curses. I am experiencing generational curses I'm trying to break free from. And I don't like my family. I don't. So next year deals with that. So, and I don't like living with people, but next year deals with that. So we'll see how next year will play out. So now I'm gonna talk about I'm gonna talk about how I view life. So whenever I'm around disrespectful people, whenever I'm around abusive people, or when there's a lot of shitty situations that's out of my control, again, I don't play victim. It does harm. It does affect me a lot. I do get pissed off, but like, I like to put the blame towards God and the universe. The reason why I put the blame towards God and the universe, because at the end of the day, I didn't ask to be around these people, especially with family members. I was forced to be around them. I didn't ask to be born into them, but God put me through them, and they're very mentally ill. They're very abusive and shit like that. I'm always around like people who aren't like-minded like me. That's God's problem. That's not my fucking problem. That's God's shame. God wants to put me around disrespectful people where I'm forced to cut off and distance myself from and to not be around. That's not my problem. I'm just doing it out of self-defense, out of protection. Because me, I love myself. I'm trying to know more about I know myself, and I love myself. So I'm not gonna put myself around people who aren't at my level. And that's God's problem. That's his fault for him not putting me around like-minded people. That's God's problem. So I'm gonna leave that burden to God. You know what I'm saying? God is responsible for allowing a lot of like suffering and pain into this world. God allows the regulations, rules for his reality to happen. I understand free will plays a role. There's evil, there's a devil, there's demonic entities, and all that is real. I understand that, but at the end of the day, it's still God's problem. So that's not my fucking problem. So when I'm going through like tough life situations or hard obstacles, that's God's problem. That's not my problem. And that's how I like to go about situations. It's not me bypassing the healing work. It's not me just it is not me not doing the healing work or not self-reflecting. I know it's not that. It's more so like with me having that mindset is like I feel like it puts a less burden to me and more of a burden towards God, because like I said, I didn't ask to be around disrespectful people, abusive people, not just a family, but like I've been into work situations. I've been around people who were just very disrespectful, very bitchy, very mentally ill, and they'll project a lot and they'll do some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I was forced to not be around them, or if I am forced to see them every day, I'm kind of forced to interact with them less, or act a certain way, or to like distance myself from them, or to even put them in their fucking place. You know? So I haven't had money stolen from me from people that I thought had my back, you know? So that's not my fucking problem. That's God's problem. That's God's fucking shame. So God got to deal with that himself. That's not my fucking problem, you know? And especially when people do me wrong, I'll never see them get their karma. I'll never see them get their justice. So there are times where like, I'm kind of forced to like cuss people out or to defend myself, because my mind, that's like, if God is not gonna get their karma, God is not gonna make them change, then I'll fucking do it. But I'm very strategic. I don't like to lash out or cuss people out unless if it's necessary. But because the difference between me and other people, I have a lot to lose. You know, I have a career I worked hard for. I have my own car, and I have a great future. And I'm going to school currently, and I've done all those things myself. I came a long way, and I went through so much bullshit and obstacles and spiritual warfare, and while breaking generational curses, I've done all of that towards my own. So for me to lose all that over going off at a fucking loser who's not even at my level, who's trying to fuck with me because that person is intimidated by me, he's jealous, he's envious, and he's threatened by me. He sees a light that person doesn't, I wish they had, and I'm a reflection of what they're not. So why would I let a loser like that? Why would I put my life into risk and lose my opportunities I've earned over a fucking loser who's not on my level, who's threatened by me, who's intimidated by me? You know what I'm saying? So that's why when people go off at me and people are trying to like disrespect me or be a dumbass towards me or be stupid or be inconsiderate, I just ignore these people. I don't give them the energy they want. I just walk away from these people and I cut them off. The only time I cuss people out or defend myself is when they push the limit or they really piss me off. You know what I'm saying? Or if they're like threatening me in some way. And unfortunately, I have been in those situations where I have to do that towards family members and other people, but they deserve it. Any situation I go, any conflict, any like fight I've been into wasn't my fault. It was their fault. You know what I'm saying? Even with like me, I have a Scorpio Mars and I'm a Scorpio Moon risings. They're known for like not causing problems. They're usually the victims of people disrespecting them, and whenever they'll defend themselves or they'll go off at someone, it's justified. These same people who will fuck with them, when these people go off at them, these people who were trying to bully them, they're very regretful, or like they regret doing what they did because they weren't know what they get themselves into. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but that's how I go about situations pretty much. It does get annoying though, but this is how people are, and that's how you should go about life. Shout out to the Misfit. Your what's the channel's name? Your favorite black sheep, Misfit Motivation. Misfit Motivation, your favorite black sheep. She mentioned her exact words that inspired me to say this was because in her exact words she said, weren't her exact words, but she said something like, don't mess with people who have nothing to lose, because you yourself have a lot to lose. These same people messing with other people, your toxic family, your abusive family, my abusive family, all these people trying to put me down, disrespect me, these dumbass people, they have nothing to lose. They're already rock bottom. Life is already treating them like shit, and because if life wasn't doing that, then they wouldn't be acting like that. But they are. So, and for them to even go to that extent to attack me, attack other people, that means that they have nothing to lose. But people like me and you watching this, people are very successful, people who have a great future, and they're putting in the work and they have a lot of potential, and they're on a spiritual mission, they have a lot to lose. You know, people like us, we can't afford to get off track over losers. You know what I'm saying? I know it's easier said than done because we're dealing with spiritual warfare. So it is going to feel like heavy. But that's the difference, because They're not at your level because they have nothing to lose. This is why they're able to go to the lengths they can and do the things they can, and they never fucking change. Even karma hits them, they never fucking change because they have nothing to lose because they're already rock bottom. Whereas us, we have a lot to lose because we have an important spiritual mission and a mission. You know what I'm saying? So this is how it is. You know, so that's how you got to view this situation. If you want to learn how to love yourself, how to do the healing work, and do a lot of shadow work, I recommend checking out New My Frame's channel. I am gonna do a lot of self-love affirmations, so I can help get my mind right, so I can be able to have the courage to do more shadow work. Check out her channel. She talks about those. She talks about self-love affirmations, manifestations, and doing shadow work and healing and the human psychology. New My Frame, and check out New My Frame Tarot. Same persons, different channels, but it's same stuff pretty much. So make sure you guys check out her channel. Well, really, and just like what Chauncey wanted, shout out to Chauncey wanted, because he said something deep. He said that I forgot his exact words, but he said, if you're a more powerful spirit, you're going to go through more trauma, tribulations, obstacles, setbacks, and pain and suffering in life. But if you're able to overcome it, you're going to stand out more than the average person, average weaker spirit who hasn't even gone through as half as what you're going through. You know what I'm saying? So, and the tougher, stronger, more influential, powerful your spirit is, the more obstacles and bullshit and pain and suffering you're going to have to go through, versus another spirit who doesn't have as much influence or power or importance like that. So as long as we see people, they're not going through what you're going through, don't even trip about it, because just the fact that you're going through obstacles, pain, and bullshit, once you overcome it, you're going to stand out a lot more, have a lot more influence, power, and success, and abundance, and blessings. And shout out to Chauncey, because he said something like that, and he's right. That really motivated me. So, but yeah, I hope this video helps, and that's all I gotta say, and have it going. Peace.